endorsed or sponsored by the Measure 91 campaign. Arguing for the end of adult marijuana prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It is even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more in this edition of Drug War Data Mining. Welcome back, everybody. 23 after the hour, and today we're going to take a look at some drug war data mining on drug rehab. We get a lot of talking points from the campaigns against marijuana legalization about how many people are in rehab, and I thought it'd be nice to get the facts. I've posted the link in our chat room. It's right here at the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Agency, and the data we're looking at today comes from the Treatment Episode Data Set, or TEDS-A, a series of admission data from 2012 all the way back to 1992 that can be looked at and researched in order to find out some of this information. Now, the TEDS-A screen, when you get there on the left, is going to have a series of books that contain all the variables that you can make use of. And I often tell people when you're using this, if you don't know what something does, just use that in the row variable and it'll tell you. For example, maybe you'd like to figure out how many teenagers versus how many adults end up in rehab. Well, for that, you need to know what the age variable does. The age variable, we can put that into the row, and it's not what you might think it would be, like someone's age 12, someone's age 16, someone's age 30, but it's actually a series of categories. When you run the data, you find that people aged 12 to 14 are category 2. People aged 15 to 17 are category 3, and so forth. So if you wanted adults 21 and over, you need categories 5 through 12. So, knowing that, we can then start putting together some other options here. For example, maybe we'd like to find out how many people are in rehab for marijuana. This will come under another book, The Substances of Abuse. And there's two different choices, original variables or created variables. Created variables are usually more interesting because they use logic to determine, various things that the original variables couldn't tell you. And the most useful one for us is the one called MARFLAG, MARFLG. Running that MARFLAG will tell you whether or not someone's in rehab for marijuana. Now, they may be in rehab for other drugs as well. They could be in for up to 3 other substances that are coded. But this will tell you if someone's marijuana only or marijuana in conjunction with other drugs. And we find 38% of the people in rehab for marijuana, or 667,000 people, are there with marijuana reported. Now, if you can take those variables and then start cross-referencing them, making rows and columns out of them, you can find some other interesting information. There's another variable that we can find that is up here under referral sources that's called P-source, which is the principal source of referral. What sent you to rehab? If we put P-source up there in the row, we can run that and find that 35%, or about 36% of people in rehab referred themselves to rehab. They chose to go to rehab. And about 34% were forced there by the courts or the criminal justice system or from a DUI. So it's about even between people who are forced into rehab by the criminal justice system versus people who choose to go to rehab on their own versus people who go to rehab because of all these other conditions. But things change quite a bit when you throw marijuana into the mix. By adding MARFLAG to the column, we can determine, FLG I should type, we can determine exactly what is the source of rehab for people who had marijuana versus people who didn't have marijuana in their diagnosis. When we run that table, we get the shocking bit of information that among people who did not report marijuana, 42% referred themselves, 28% were forced there. And that's just about flipped if someone did report marijuana. 43% forced there, 26% went on their own. This shows you why the rehab people are so keen to keep marijuana illegal. Now, if we narrow that down even further, remember the age field that we worked with earlier. Age 5 through 12 shows us all the people that are above the age of 21. So now we're looking at how many adults were flagged for marijuana and what sent them to rehab. This will show us even more shocking results. 42% forced, 28% chose. And you can start narrowing that down by state by using another selection filter. In this case, we're going to use or state 1. And that just means the state of Oregon, and the 1 means yes, right? So we're going to find the source of referral for people that had marijuana in the state of Oregon who were adults age 21 and older. Running that table will give us the results showing that in the state of Oregon, 60% of adults who have gone to rehab for marijuana were forced there by the criminal justice system, compared to 23% who